Bundling CSS. Another nice feature of Webpack is that it can bundle CSS into the same file as the bundled JavaScript. This allows your users to download a single file that contains all of the CSS and JavaScript necessary for your app. CSS can be included into the bundle with import statements. These statements tell Webpack to bundle up associated CSS files with a JavaScript module. Import recipe from /recipe. Import /stylesheets/menu.css. Const menu equals recipes equals. Delicious recipes equals recipes. Recipes.macrosite I equals. Key equals I recipe /. Export default menu. In order to implement CSS bundling in your Webpack configuration, you will need to install some loaders. npm install style loader, CSS loader, posts loader, save dev. Finally, you have to incorporate this loader into your Webpack configuration. Rules. Test /.js exclude /loader modules loader Babel loader query. Presets env stage 0 React. Test /.css use style loader, CSS loader. Loader posts loader options. Plugins equals require auto prefixer. 1 Dan Abramov, create apps with no configuration, React blog, the 22nd of July 2016. Bundling up CSS files with Webpack will cause your site to load faster by reducing the number of requests that your browser needs to make for resources. Create React app. As the Facebook team mentions in their blog, the React ecosystem has commonly become associated with an overwhelming explosion of tools. In response to this, the React team launched Create React App, a command line tool that auto-generates a React project. Create React App was inspired by the Ember CLI project, and it lets developers get started with React projects quickly without the manual configuration of Webpack, Babel, ESLint, and associated tools. To get started with Create React App, install the package globally. npm install create react app, then use the command and the name of the folder where you'd like the app to be created. Create React App My React project. This will create a React project in that directory with just 3 dependencies: React, React DOM, and React Scripts. React Scripts was also created by Facebook and is where the real magic happens. It installs Babel, ESLint, Webpack, and more, so that you don't have to configure them manually. Within the generated project folder, you'll also find the src folder containing an app.js file. Here, you can edit the root component and import other component files. From within the My React project folder, you can run npm start. If you prefer, you can also run yarn start. You can run tests with npm test or yarn test. This runs all of the test files in the project in an interactive mode. This will start your application on port 3000. You can also run the npm run build command. Using yarn, run yarn build. This will create a production-ready bundle that has been transpiled and minified. Create React App is a great tool for beginners and experienced React developers alike. As the tool evolves, more functionality will likely be added, so you can keep an eye on the changes on Git Hub. Chapter 6 Props, State, and the Component Tree. In the last chapter, we talked about how to create components. We primarily focused on how to build a user interface by composing React components. This chapter is filled with techniques that you can use to better manage data and reduce time spent debugging applications. Data handling within component trees is one of the key advantages of working with React. There are techniques that you can use when working with data in React components that will make your life much easier in the long run. Our applications will be easier to reason about and scale if we can manage data from a single location and construct the UI based on that data. Property validation JavaScript is a loosely typed language, which means that the data type of a variable's value can change. For example, you can initially set a JavaScript variable as a string, then change its value to an array later, and JavaScript will not complain. Managing our variable types inefficiently can lead to a lot of time spent debugging applications. React components provide a way to specify and validate property types. Using this feature will greatly reduce the amount of time spent debugging applications. Supply. Incorrect property types triggers warnings that can help us find bugs that may have otherwise slipped through the cracks. React has built-in automatic property validation for the variable types, as shown in Table 6-1. Table 6-1. Each property validation. Type validator arrays react.proptypes.array boolean react.proptypes.bool functions react.proptypes.func numbers react.proptypes.number objects react.proptypes.object strings react.proptypes.string. In this section, we will create a summary component for our recipes. The summary component will display the title of the recipe along with counts for both ingredients and steps. See Figure 6-1. Figure 6-1. Soup. Summary component output for baked salmon. In order to display this data, we must supply the summary component with three properties: a title, an array of ingredients, and an array of steps. We want to validate these properties to make sure the first is a string and the others are arrays, and supply defaults for when they are unavailable. To implement property validation depends upon how components are created. Stateless functional components and S6 classes have different ways of implementing property validation. First, let's look at why we should use property validation and how to implement it in components created with React.createClass. Validating props with createClass, we need to understand why it is important to validate component property types. Consider the following implementation for the summary component. Const summary equals createClass. Display name summary, render. Const ingredients, steps, title equals this.props return. Equals summary. Title. Ingredients. Length ingredients. Steps. Length steps. The summary component destructures ingredients, steps, and title from the prop. Is object and then constructs a UI to display that data. Since we expect both ingredients and steps to be arrays, we use array.length to count the array's items. What if we rendered this summary component accidentally using strings? Render. Title equals peanut butter and jelly. Ingredients equals peanut butter, jelly, bread. Steps equals spread peanut butter and jelly between bread /. document.getElement via React container. JavaScript will not complain, but finding the length will count the number of characters in each string. Figure 6 to 2. Figure 6 to 2. S. A Mary component output for peanut butter and jelly. The output of this code is odd. No matter how fancy your peanut butter and jelly might be, it's doubtful that you are going to have 27 ingredients and 44 steps. Instead of seeing the correct number of steps and ingredients, we are seeing the length in characters of each string. A bug like this is easy to miss. If we validated the property types when we created the summary component, React could catch this bug for us. Const summary equals create class. Display name summary, prop types. Ingredients prop types dot array, steps prop types dot array, title prop types dot string. Render. Const ingredients, steps, title equals this dot props return. Equals summary. Title. Ingredients. Dot length ingredients. Steps. Dot length steps. Using React's built-in property type validation, we can make sure that both ingredients and steps are arrays. Additionally, we can make sure that the title value is a string. Now when we pass incorrect property types, we will see an error. Figure 6 to 3. Figure 6 to 3. P. Property type validation warning. What would happen if we rendered the summary component without sending it any properties? Render / document.getElement via React container. Rendering the summary component without any properties causes a JavaScript error that takes down the web app. Figure 6 to 4. Figure 6 to 4. Raw generated from missing array. This error occurs because the type of the ingredients property is undefined, and undefined is not an object that has a length property like an array or a string. React has a way to specify required properties. When those properties are not defined, React will trigger a warning in the console. Const summary equals create class. Display name summary, prop types. Ingredients prop types dot array dot is required. Steps prop types dot array dot is required. Title prop types dot string. Render. Now when we render the summary component without any properties, React directs our attention to the problem with the console warning just before the error occurs. This makes it easier to figure out what went wrong. Figure 6 to 5. Figure 6 to 5. Each warnings for missing properties. The summary component expects an array for ingredients and an array for steps, but it only uses the length property of each array. T. His component is designed to display counts numbers for each of those values. T may make more sense to refactor our code to expect numbers instead, since the component doesn't actually need arrays. Import create class, prop types from React. Export const summary equals create class. Display name summary, prop types. Ingredients prop types dot number dot is required. Steps prop types dot number dot is required. Title prop types dot string. Render. Const ingredients, steps, title equals this dot props return. Equals summary. Title. Ingredients. Ingredients. Steps. Steps. Using numbers for this component is a more flexible approach. Now the summary component simply displays the UI. It sends the burden of actually counting ingredients or steps further up the component tree to a parent or ancestor. 1 React Docs, Default Prop Values. Default props. Another way to improve the quality of components is to assign default values for properties. The validation behavior is similar to what you might expect. The default values you establish will be used if other values are not provided. Let's say we want the summary component to work even when the properties are not supplied. Import render from React DOM. Render /document.getElement React container. With create class, we can add a method called getDefaultProps that returns default values for properties that are not assigned. Const summary equals create class. Display name summary, prop types. Ingredients prop types dot number, steps prop types dot number, title prop types dot string. Get default props. Return. Ingredients 0, steps 0, title recipe. Render. Const ingredients, steps, title equals this dot props return. Equals summary. Title. Ingredients. Ingredients. Steps. Steps. Now when we try to render this component without properties, we will see some default data instead, as in figure 6-6. Figure 6-6. S. Our Mary component output with default properties. Using default properties can extend the flexibility of your component and prevent errors from occurring when your users do not explicitly require every property. Custom property validation React